Okay, so the end of the year is upon us. Christmas is right around the corner, and I'm doing a little resolution early. You see, I've talked about I'm going to start using this channel more instead of just occasionally putting up a video or a trailer. I'm going to start using this channel more, and you're going to start seeing me more on here. And so I thought I would start it today by doing something different and answering 10 questions. So I'm going to answer 10 questions so you guys can learn a little more about me. My name's Ryan. I am a thriller author. This is my channel. And I've got like 5 books out on Amazon. And so I'm going to do these 10 questions so you guys can get to know me a little better. And if you've got your own questions, put them in the comments and I'll be sure to answer those in a future video. Okay, so what inspired me to start writing thrillers? The thing is, I think that's a loaded question. The truth is, I didn't start out writing thrillers. The first ideas I came up with were more of like fantasy horror based, and as of now, none of those have yet, or most of those have yet to see the light. I do have a couple short stories that saw some of those visions play out. But out of the original ideas I came up with in the early days, the one I chose to be my first book, I should say, was an outline named The Silencer. The Silencer went on to be renamed Tears of the Dragon, and I'm glad I did because somebody else already had a book called The Silencer. And so far I've stuck with the thriller genre. I mean, Tears of the Dragon has been all of my published books that are on Amazon so far, and that's my Xavier Green thriller series. But it all started with Tears of the Dragon. So for right now, I'm in the thriller genre, but who knows what the future will hold. Do you outline your plots or are you more of a pantser? Well, I would call myself a dedicated plotter, but the answer is probably somewhat more complicated. The truth is, I start with a very detailed plot, and in my plot, each paragraph represents a chapter of the book. So when I sit down to actually write the book, I've got a really detailed synopsis already planned out where all I've got to do is fill in the blanks. I've got to take each paragraph, fill it up, and make it a chapter. So fairly easy, right? Well, yeah, except as I write, I leave the door open to adapt my outlines and for things to change, sometimes drastically, to accommodate things that occur in the story. Like as I'm writing and fleshing stuff out, suddenly I have an idea or something makes more sense. And, I like to say the characters dictate where the book goes. So I think it's closer to say I'm a hybrid writer. That's probably a bit of plotting, a bit of pantsing, somewhere in between, but mostly a plotter. What's the most challenging scene you've ever written? Believe it or not, even though I've written a bunch of them, fight scenes are actually the hardest thing that I write. Complex fight scenes are really easy for me to plot out in my head, right? But getting them on paper in such a way that the reader really understands them and you capture the emotion and kind of the kinetic energy, it is a whole different, it's a whole different ball game, and it can be very hard. I struggle with giving details to a fight, but not getting too lost in the details. Because if you get too lost in the details of it, you kind of lose that kinetic energy and that action. And that is the most important thing of fight scenes. I think fight scenes have to flow. People have to feel the immediateness of it. They have to feel the tension. They have to feel the drama. And so I think it's really hard to capture the details and capture the energy of the scene. Do you hide Easter eggs or subtle references in your books? Yes, I put a tremendous amount of Easter eggs and personal references in my books, whether it's old phone numbers, places I've been, my favorite foods, old apartment numbers. I have a ton of references in the book, but you have to keep in mind that most of those details aren't aimed at casual readers, or even dedicated fans. I mean, more of it is aimed at personal acquaintances, people that know me, My wife always gets the biggest kick out of the Easter eggs, and that's good enough for me. That's kind of the audience I'm aiming for when it comes to subtle references and Easter eggs, but they are there. And the more you get to know me, the more you're like, oh yeah. So be on the lookout. How do you handle reader feedback and reviews? Mostly with kids' gloves. I mean, honestly, I occasionally look at reviews, but I don't take them to heart, good or bad. Um, I do it more to understand how a book resonates with readers. If it generally gets good reviews, then, I've done my job. But I also have to understand, and you do too, that every book gets bad reviews. And for the most part, these are also valid opinions. The thing to remember that we have to remember as authors is that art, whether it's writing, paintings, music, whatever, is subjective. And so it is entirely possible that your book can be someone's favorite read ever and the worst book ever written simultaneously. Do you have a favorite thriller that shaped your writing? My writing is an amalgamation, honestly, of everything that I've ever been interested in, from martial arts to espionage, even to the katana that Xavier Green carries. It's all an element of pop culture that I've been interested in at one time or another, or even still interested in these days. As I've mentioned many times, the Xavier Green series started as an homage to the Ian Fleming thrillers, the James Bond books. But it's evolved into something much more than that. And I also will acknowledge that I learn from every book that I read from. So my books will continue to evolve as my reading, as I continue to accumulate knowledge. What advice would I give to aspiring thriller authors? First off, learn your genre. Learn what readers expect from thrillers and learn how to use those tropes without becoming cliched. Second, and most importantly out of any of this, is write. Like if you want to be a writer or an author, you need to write constantly. And I don't just mean write your stories, although that's important too. Write any chance you get. Write for the local paper, write for clients, write for your school paper. The more you can use and train your writing muscle, the better off you'll be. What's your favorite tool or software for writing and organizing your ideas? Scrivener. Scrivener is an essential piece of software. It is the most essential piece of software I've ever purchased. And I will say there is a learning curve. You do have to take the time to learn it, but it will become an essential part of your writing once you take the time to learn it. Honestly, it allows me to stay organized in a way that simply writing in Word or a Google Doc doesn't. I mean, it's got so many features. So I would say Scrivener for sure. But second prize goes to my Grammarly subscription because I make no bones about it. Grammarly helps me in every aspect of my businesses, beyond the writing, in my web design, my marketing. It's a big help, and I'm a better writer because of those two programs. Do you ever write scenes that don't make it into the final book? Oh, God, absolutely. Because of the hybrid style that we talked about earlier, I'm forever surrendering to the fluid style of my story as it flows out of my head, outline be damned. To give you an example, the Iron Tigers who appear in The Silent Death were originally supposed to appear in the Osiris Initiative. In this version, Xavier, Logan, and Hondo teamed up but were cornered by Davos's forces, and just when all seemed lost, an army of ninja assassins would emerge from the shadows to help turn the tide of battle. In the end, I decided to go with more intimate set pieces, and I just allowed the larger scale battle to be fought in the background, with the Citadel being the force that sweeps in to turn the tide. So yeah, it changes quite a bit. How do you connect with your readers outside of your books? Hey, that is totally easy. I'm currently active on my blog, my newsletter, and my social media. My current social media is Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. But I will say TikTok, I'm not really active on because it's getting ready to go the way of the dodo thanks to the band. So with that being said, I will probably be posting mostly on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram Reels. So be on the lookout. If I had some good advice to you, it would be subscribe to my newsletter and my YouTube. So like and subscribe right here on the channel because that's where I'm going to be the most active going into the new year. Okay, so that's it. Hope you enjoyed the question and answer session. I had a lot of fun. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe to help me grow the channel because I'm going to be a lot more active on here in 2025. And also, if you have questions you want answered, leave them in the comments or contact me personally. And if I get enough questions, I'll do another session soon. So you guys take care and we'll talk soon.